Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast, and our esteemed leader is back. He's back for his sabbatical, his week off, his holiday. And find out if we manage to keep the ship straight down the line, ship shape. See what he thinks to what we've done with the place. You know, we moved all the ornaments. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review and share the podcast around. That's the big one. Share the podcast around. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, Football Podcast.
Recording in progress.
It's been a long time since I've heard those words. Almost 2 weeks, in fact. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. No, your eyes and ears are not deceiving you. I am back, despite obviously Customs' best attempts to keep me out of the country, as I believe Mr. Woodmansey was alluding to last week. I managed to avoid the shiny gloves of doom, and I am here, sat comfortably, nothing more. For those of you watching on the YouTubes, obviously you can see 4 smiling, happy faces in front of you. 5, technically. Welcome in, boys. How are we doing this week?
Yeah. Been better.
Yeah, I think by the end of the podcast, you'll all know exactly how we're doing. Little foreshadowing, not great, but we'll start off with the opening game of the week, which happens to be on terrestrial TV over here in the United Kingdom. It was an FA Cup second round game, and as covered on the podcast last week, it was somewhat of a local flavour, where York City were taking on Andy's adopted team of Wigan Athletic. Now, unfortunately, as I was out of the country, I was unable to watch this. But I do have, on good authority from my dad, that the game was, and I quote, small ears might want to cover themselves here, fucking shit. So,
This is the coverage they come for.
Not the best of games. For the tuning in, watching faithful. I don't even know who the expert summarisers were that the BBC sent to York for the game. Probably can presume it was Shearer.
It says a lot that your dad said it was effing shit, considering he's watched Hartlepool for the past few years.
Hey,
slowly descend.
The last time Pools turned up at that stadium, they stuck 3 in the net. So
I'm not doubting that one, but I'm just saying, as in on the whole, for the past few years, not great.
Few years. I mean, he's been watching Pools for comfortably nearly 60, and I'd probably say out of that, he could maybe pick out 8 seasons that weren't utterly shite. Maybe if he's lucky. Yeah, it's not been a barrel of roses. Been a
I thought you were going to say 8 games then.
No, they've not been that bad. There was a period in the late 90s, early 2000s where they were actually probably one of the better sides to watch. But anyway, we digress. This is York versus Wigan we're talking about, and having looked into the details of the game, Andy remains a Wigan Athletic fan. Sadly, he cannot switch allegiance to his hometown side, as Wigan went out of this game 1-0 winners with a Humphreys goal in the second half. I'm assuming no one saw even highlights or clips of the game.
I saw it was foggy.
Yeah, it sounded like it was a bit miserable. I mean, when we landed back in Leeds, shock horror, it was pissing it down. So that was nice. The UK never changes. Always good. So yes, 1-0 to Wigan. From a predictions perspective, only Andy had picked his team to lose. He'd gone for a 1-0 win with Henderson to score the goal. Myself and Stuart both gone for 3-0 wins. We both picked Humphreys in that as well, so we get bonus points for the goal scorer. Matt had gone for a 2-1 win. Jones and White to score for Wigan. He did hit John Lewis as the goal scorer for York. And interesting point that I would have made last week had I been on the podcast. He's affectionately known as the Shop. And when he scores for York, the social media team flash up the picture and, of course, give the caption of "Shop's open."
Oh, fucking hell.
Terrible. So after one game, myself and Stu, 2 points apiece. Matt, 1 point. Andy still to get off the mark. Our second game of the week takes us to the Saturday games, and it was Hull City at home to Watford. I believe you may have been in attendance for this, Mr. Woodmansey, or you didn't miss for any particular reason?
No, full clan were there, and it was freezing. Absolutely freezing. So we'd spent, from a personal standpoint, we'd spent the morning like idiots, heading off to go and do a run, and when we got out of the car to go and do said run, it was -3. So we celebrated this by going and sitting in the cold for the full afternoon into the evening. I put 3 pairs of socks on, still couldn't feel my feet.
Probably
It
lack
was-
of circulation.
Were they 3 small, thin pairs of socks, or did you at least have one that was like a nice thick pair in there?
Now, again, I'm sure this is the content they come for, but it was a thin base layer, a medium middle layer, and a fluffy top. So it was all level. It was like the Russian doll of sock, shall we say? But yeah, and it was bad. It was bad. It was really cold. I did think that my boys might have taken that as their first opportunity to say, do you know what, we might stay at home next time. But no, they stuck at it. They enjoyed the football despite the result, which we'll get to momentarily, because the final score was Hull 1, Watford 2. A point may have been a fairer result, although listening to Rossinia's post-match interview, he would have still been disappointed because he felt Hull had done enough to take the win. But however, Watford did open the scoring, which was against the run of play on 8 minutes with Kayembe. Hull didn't roll over for a change, which is nice, and they got equal 2 minutes later on 10 minutes. Much like the week previous, Delap burst in run through the middle. He loves to drive at a defender, which is good to see, especially when you're there live. Like that is quite something that he's got that in him. Absolutely, I believe the technical term is twatted it at the keeper. But the keeper came out to meet him, and the goal was scored at the end I was sat at, and subsequently missed the ball going into the net because I was too busy screaming for a penalty, and then realised that the ball had gone in and was like, yeah, screw it, it's fine anyway, it doesn't matter now. But it was Scott Twine was the grateful recipient of another save from Delap for the second home game running. Left side's still kind of weak, as I've mentioned before. A lot of Watford's joy came down that side, but the majority of the first half was all Hull, really. Unlucky. There was into the second half, Hull got a penalty when ex-Hull man Jake Livermore, who I didn't even know played football anymore until I saw him running out of the pitch against us at the weekend, completely passed me by. He brought down Jacob Greaves in the area. Definite Stonewall penalty, no two ways about it. For a centre half, it was a nice little move away, like touch away with a ball. Seen Livermore coming towards him like an absolute ton of bricks. The actual penalty taker for Hull was sat on the bench at this point, so there was not really a debate because it was between Twine and Philogene, but Philogene had the ball in his hands first, so the amount of decent stuff we've seen out of him in the last few weeks, had no qualms with that whatsoever. Puts the ball on the spot, you can tell where this is going. He hit it to his left, so down to the keeper's right, and unfortunately the keeper was there to meet it, so missed the penalty. Watford then took the lead, scoring the winner in what was only described really as an absolute worldie of an effort. Delap received the ball pretty much on the halfway line, tried to turn, but it was a trick he'd tried maybe 3 times in the last sort of 3 minutes beforehand. Defender knew, or midfielder knew exactly what he was doing, so just picked his pocket, got a few yards inside the whole half, but only a few yards inside the whole half. Saw Allsop off his line and absolutely sailed one in. It looked like, from where we were sat, it was actually going to creep over the bar, and I'm pretty sure Allsop thought the same, or hoped the same, because he could do absolutely nothing about it. The guy who scored the goal was, again, pronunciation may be adrift, but it's Hoyt, or Hoyt, H-O-E-D-T.
I think it's Hoot.
Okay,
it looked like one of those ones, because I saw it on the Football League show. Is it on ITV? Or I can't remember the name of the package, but it looked like one of those ones that sort of, it almost looked like it just kept on sort of going. It had a bit of loop on it.
Yeah.
So it was one of those ones that like it was like looking as if it was almost, is it going to just like hit the bar, but then just sort of dropped in. It was a bit of a strange.
From the way Allsop was watching it, if it had hit the bar, it'd have blatantly hit him in the face and gone in anyway.
Something I did think was quite funny on the replay of it was the fact that the second it went in, obviously Allsop doesn't just go, oh no. Straight away, he's blaming whoever it was that gave the ball away, or the defenders, for some reason.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nuts one, really, because Delap was sort of getting towards the one-trick pony stage of the game, so it was obvious that at some point the defenders are going to get wise to the move that he kept trying. But for Allsop to be so far off his line, I know that's just the way they play at the moment, but Hoot, as we've now discovered that he's called, spoke to the media after the game, and I can't remember which team he said, but Watford had been playing a team a couple of weeks ago where the manager had pointed out that they like to play out from the back and then sit with quite a high line, and that would apply to Hull. So for the game a couple of weeks ago and the game last weekend, they'd all been taking long shots in training purely for that specific scenario, and turns out it paid off. Unfortunate. It's not going to happen every week. They went for it. It was quite an entertaining first half, particularly was very entertaining. But yeah, unfortunately, it brings the little winning streak at home to an end. Just to confirm that, like I said, I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, we lost, but we were all over them. Hull had 23 shots to Watford's 10. 61% possession. But I guess all that, like I said, doesn't really matter, because the main thing is that Watford bagged 2 and we didn't, so it is what it is.
Yeah, like you say, sticking the ball in the back of the net's all that matters at the end of the day. So sadly, 2-1 win for Watford. No one had picked a Watford win, sadly. Myself and Matt had both gone for 2-1 Hull wins. Andy had gone for a 1-0 Hull win. Stuart had gone for a 1-1 draw. And between us, none of us had picked Twine, KMB or Hoot to score. So sadly, that is 4 bagels across the board. I hope you like bread, lads. We'll be eating a lot of it. Our third game of the week saw my lot travel to Bell End Road to take on Leeds United. And this one started with a bit of a bang, as after 3 minutes, no less, Middlesbrough took the lead. It was one of those sort of goals where the second it goes in, everyone starts going absolutely wild on Twitter. Oh my God, that's one of the best passing moves I've ever seen. Saw clips of it, and yeah, it was pretty good. It was one of those ones that start literally from the keeper, pass, move, pass, out to the left. slick, one touch, pretty much all on the deck apart from the odd ball that gets played around the corner. The ball itself actually made its way out to Alex Bangura on the left-hand side. He passed it on to Emmanuel Latte-Lath on the edge of the box, who cut back inside, stuck one of the leads right back on his arse, and then just smashed it into the corner. Cracking start after 3 minutes. The away supporters going absolutely wild. That lasted all of 2 minutes. But after 5 minutes, Leeds were back in it, 1-1. Across from the left-hand side from Sam Byron was met by all of 5 foot Dan James. Not entirely sure how he beat Paddy McNair for a header, but somehow he did. Leapt up, got his head on it, 1-1. It got even worse 2 minutes later when Crescencio Somerville scored to make it 2-1. This time it was across from the right-hand side by the right back Archie Gray. And again, Crescencio Somerville, about 5'1" this time, managed to get up above the Borough players and nod in to make it 2-1. It calmed down a little bit after that. There wasn't as much scoring on the 2 minutes as had been for the past 4. But Leeds did make it 3-1 about 40 minutes into the first half when they were given a penalty. Paddy McNair had to go off injured, so Matt Clark came on at the back, and one of the first things he had to do was try and tackle Jorginho Ruta, and all he did was basically brought him down right on the edge of the box. Having seen it back, I'm not entirely convinced it was a foul. I'm also not entirely convinced it was even in the box. But one of those ones where if it gets given for you, you're ecstatic. If it gets given against you, you're arguing that it shouldn't have been given. But Joel Pirot picked up the ball, stuck it on the spot, and sadly, the Middlesbrough keeper wasn't able to pull off what the Watford keeper was. They went 3-1 down. Second game in a row away from home when they've conceded a penalty, sadly. So it stayed 3-1. Just before the half-time break, they managed to get it back to 3-2. Borough had a corner taken by Daniel Barlaser, and Latte-Lath was there in the centre to nod in to make it 3-2. That's where the scoring ended. There was no more goals in the second half. There was time, though, for Borough to have a man sent off, as Anthony Dykesdale decided it would be a really good idea to just stand on Dan James's leg in the second half and get a second yellow card. It wasn't a great challenge. Thoroughly deserved his second yellow, and he'll now miss the next game against Ipswich. We're down to about 2 fit defenders in the squad, so that'll be interesting to see what he can cobble together for the game against Ipswich on Saturday. But yeah, sadly, no more goals for the Borough, so petered out to a 3-2 Leeds win. Very disappointing. Don't ever want to be giving points to Leeds. Predictions-wise, Andy had gone for a 5-0 Middlesbrough win. What an absolute lad. He had Silvera to score twice. Silvera did hit the post in the second half, so you were almost there for a goal, actually. Morgan Rogers to get 1, and Latte-Lath to score 2. 2 bonus points for Mr. Cook there. Matt had gone for a 1-1 draw.
Whoa. I think that needs a special mention. Andy predicted the losing side to win by 5 goals and still somehow managed to pull 2 points out of his arse. That is like... well done.
Very well played, sir. Matt had gone for a 1-1 draw with Pirot to score for Leeds, Vandenberg to score for the Borough, so gets himself a bonus point for a goal scorer. I'd gone for 2-2 with Bamford and James to score for Leeds, Latte-Lath and Crooks to score for the Borough, so no points for the result, but 2 bonus points for scorers for me. Mr. Woodmansey had gone for a 2-1 Leeds win, so I blame him. Thanks, Stu. You complete. Arsehole.
Alright, we drew 0-0 with them, so it's fine.
Oh yeah, that makes me feel so much better. 2-1 for Hull. 2-1 result for Stu. Pirot and Ruta to score for Leeds. Jones to score for the Borough. So Stu gets himself a bonus point for Pirot scoring. 2 points for me, 2 points for Stu, 2 points for Andy, 1 point for Matt in that one. We'll go to Mr. Moore for his team next. But before we get to Nottingham Forest versus Everton, we will just take a small break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. As we said before the break, our next game was going to be Nottingham Forest versus Everton. And as we can see, we've got our 2 Nottingham Forest correspondents on the line to give us the breakdown of this game that was live on Sky Television. Were you lucky enough to catch this one, Mr. Moore, or did you just have to make do with the updates as they were coming through on BBC Scores and whatnot?
I think I was lucky enough not to watch it. And so, yeah, no, I didn't. I think by the sound of it, kind of a scrappy game, kind of one club, who, you know, they've been so hard done to that they've now got to fight for their livelihoods, and, you know, it's terrible. And another club, oh, God knows, trying to find some kind of form somewhere. I think a game of not many chances, or definitely not any clear chances. Dwight McNeil scored for Everton. A decent finish. By him. Kind of ball crossed in. Not really properly cleared by Forrest. Drops to him. Smacks it in the kind of top corner. They said it was an awesome finish. And it was just a shot across goal for me. Like the way they kind of reported it. I'd like heard that kind of the way they reported it made it sound like some worldy goal, and I kind of just thought it just went back across. The keeper probably could have done better with it.
It was one of those ones where if you like, because I saw it on Match of the Day, and the angle that it sort of leaves his foot and hits the net, if they show it at the right angle, it's one of those ones that it makes it look better than it probably actually was.
Yeah. And then obviously Forrest kind of tried to kind of fight back, obviously I think there's been a lot of controversy behind it, but obviously for me we're not given a Stonewall penalty. There was a lot of shirt pulling, dragged down to the floor, and considering the penalties that were given at Forest last week, or the previous week, that was more of a penalty than either of those 2 penalties that were given, and you see that penalty given constantly in the Premiership. So yeah, so Forest lose 1-0 for a Dwight McNeil goal. Probably shouldn't have lost that one, but apparently didn't really deserve that much out of the game.
Yeah, it must just be another one of those ones where it's just a frustrating result at home against a team that will be there or thereabouts, like sort of in the bottom 6 come the end of the season.
Yeah. Particularly after that points deduction.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Predictions-wise, Stuart gone for a 2-1 Forest win, but didn't pick McNeil as one of the goal scorers, so no points for Stu. I'd gone for a 1-1 draw. Gibbs, White and Calvert-Lewin, no points for me. Andy had gone for a 1-1 draw with Wood and McNeil to score, so gets us up a bonus point for the goal scorer. Mr. Moore had foreseen this though and had gone for a 2-1 Everton win, so gets us up a point for the result, no points for goal scorers. So just a point there for Matt and Andy out of that one. 2 games left. They were both played this evening, no less. Andy's team, Wigan, were taking on Stockport County in the EFL Trophy and managed to pull off a 2-0 win with what seemed on paper to be a very changed team. Smith and Morrison getting the goals. Not 2 names I've written in the book in the past couple of weeks, so I would assume they were potentially youth players. Predictions-wise, we'd all picked varying degrees of Wigan win, so we each get a point for the result. Myself and Matt had gone 2-1. Sadly, neither of us picked Smith or Morrison to score. Stu and Andy both picked 1-0 wins with Godot and Stones to score the goals. So no points for goal scorers, but like I said, we each get a point for the result. And our last game of the week saw Fulham taking on Nottingham Forest. Now, I can only presume you probably don't want to talk about this one for too long, given the nature of the result.
I don't want to talk about the Fulham game. I don't want to talk about Fulham. I don't want to talk about their goals. I just want to talk about what absolute shit show. And I know what's going to happen because Marinakis was in the crowd tonight. And what's going to happen is, in the next 24 hours, Steve Cooper's going to get sacked. And the reason why he got sacked was because 9 players didn't bother turning up for a game today. Well, I don't want to say 9. I don't know. There's some shoots that came and did, but 9 players just didn't bother. They just might as well not bother going today. The goalkeeper is shocking, and he's meant to be the one that replaced Turner, who was apparently bad. He's got no command of his box. There's no, I don't know, he just points his fingers at everybody whenever anything goes wrong. Aina, who was the right back, was absolutely shocking. He was shocking at the weekend. He was shocking against Brighton the other week. He doesn't bother defending. There was one stage where William cut in, did a turn, and he just fucked off to the left back spot and just kind of then turned around and went, a decent footballer's just kind of done it and turned. So he was shocking. Felipe was back. I know he hasn't played since the end of last season. He looked way off the pace, but he was doing, for somebody who's 36 years old and meant to be the experienced defender in the team, he was just doing absolutely batshit crazy stuff. Toffolo wasn't too bad. Murillo again looked really good. Toffolo wasn't too bad. Sangare, we paid over 30 million for him. I've never seen anybody look so lazy and so disinterested in a game than he did, and he got fetched off at half time. Mangala, industrious but didn't look much better. Probably could have been taken off as well. Dominguez seems to have lost it. He was just slow on the ball. Took too long on the ball. And then didn't bother chasing back. Hudson-Odoi, you can see why we got him for, a packet of fags and a bag of balls. Because today he was absolutely useless. Elanga, alright. Bit of pace. Probably did the most of the forward lot. Origi had no service, so you can't really blame him. And God knows why we fetched him off. And it was just... I haven't seen a performance like that from Forest in 15 years. Like Megson time. And that's what it was. And these aren't... And the reason why the players that played for Megson played like that was because they were shit. These players aren't shit. They just don't seem to give a fuck, basically. That's what it looked like tonight. It looked like, I don't want to play tonight. We're going to get absolutely stuffed by this team because they played well against Liverpool on the weekend. And we're just not going to bother. And, I don't know who's going to come into the club to change that. But, if someone's going to come in, they better change it quickly because we're going down. And we're going to be Leeds. We're going to be farming off players to other clubs to pay for the fact that we spent a load of money on these players to take us to the next level, and it's just gone backwards. And I know, and like I said, it's always the manager that gets the can at the end of it because you can't sack 25 players because it'll cost you too much money. But why he was able to do the job that he's done the past 2 years, and now he can't do it. And again, he's chopping and changing the side constantly. Again today was Dominguez brought in, Morgan Gibbs-White drops out, different right back because Aurier played there on the weekend, different defensive pair because Bowley played. I've seen Forest a few times this season, and that was the most disheartening performance. And it's like, the fans keep on cheering his name. Fine. I genuinely don't think it's Cooper's fault. I think he's trying to get them to play in a certain way, and they can't be asked to, basically, for whatever reason. It's got a real Leeds of last season smell to it. It's got a real Ipswich. Remember when they signed Fanini George? That kind of smell to that season where they spent a lot of money on. I don't think we haven't bought a Fanini George kind of thing because he was old and past it and shouldn't have been signed. But I just wonder whether we've gone chasing players that are like a false gold kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. It's that strange thing, isn't it? Like where look at the people they have brought in. They have, like you said, they haven't brought anyone that's like, bit older, sort of looking to sort of get like that one last sort of big payday before they retire and stuff like that. It's mainly like young players that they've brought in. So if the worst did happen and they did go down, they're players that should have resale value. So that's not the end of the world. But like you say, I think for me, the thing I've always said, and I've seen it a lot at the Borough over the years, you can forgive a lack of talent. You can never forgive a lack of effort.
No.
And that's what it boils down to. As long as you know that what you've seen is that the players have gone out there and they've literally put everything into that game, and they've not left thinking, I probably could have put a bit more effort in there, or I could have done this a bit better and stuff like that. As long as they just go out and they come back and they look knackered, it's the players that look as if they've just been sort of like swanning around the pitch for the majority of the game, just not really giving a toss and stuff like that. And you just look at them and think, there's 30,000 in that stadium that would give their right bollock to be where you are, mate. And they would plough their absolute puddings off for that team. And you just can't be asked.
I'd be annoyed if there was that amount of effort in a training session. And that's what it was, It's, I don't know. It just looked, and like obviously Cooper went over and the fans are chanting his name and stuff like that. But we all know where this is going because he was lucky not to get sacked this time last year when they lost. Was it 4-1, 4-0 at Leicester? It was about this time last year. And I think given time he probably could turn it round, but they've gone out and spent a lot of money on a lot of players, and it's not working. And they seem to have this succession list of what they want to do, kind of thing. It's just
like you said, credit to the fans for sticking with him. From my point of view, genuinely my favourite part of the entire coverage tonight, from the bit I saw, was when it got to 4-0 and the Forest fans chanting we're going to win 5-4. Kind of like when you're on a hard into nothing at that stage, like the fact that they're still sticking at it, like you got a feel for them as well. Like travelling midweek as well, it's a bit. I think Cooper going over at the end was probably the nice thing to do, but unfortunately, like you said, it might be his final act.
It might have been a farewell. And on the flip side of that, considering that they were winning 4-5-0, that place was a bloody morgue. That was shocking. Like, I know it's.
So part of that might be it's come out so strange because obviously people who've seen other podcasts that we've put out obviously will know that the Fulham are owned by the Khan family, who just so happen to be involved with All Elite Wrestling. And it's been mentioned before that their fans have been protesting over the past couple of weeks, given the ticket prices. tickets. I think for the Man United game a couple of weeks ago, there were certain tickets that were going in the ground for over £100 per seat.
Wow.
So they've definitely bought into the, we might get the tourism sort of people coming in here, so we can charge whatever that we want for that particular game. And I think the fans have finally stood up to it and said, no, we're just not having it anymore. So I don't think the atmosphere will be particularly good at Craven Cottage until that gets sorted out. But yeah, like you say,
that could always be
5-0. It didn't sound like it.
No, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've not seen the full ins and outs of that kind of Fulham ticket pricing thing, but like I know, like speaking about the local club to myself, they have lounge areas, which basically means you have access to a swankier bar than on the concourse, and they're £82 a game. But you go into a lounge, and I wonder whether that's the kind of case at Fulham kind of thing. Because if you're charging £100 for a standard seat in a stadium, even on the side, like halfway line kind of stuff, standard seat. If you're charging £100, then you get exactly what you deserve. But like, geez, if I was a Fulham player and I'd put in that performance tonight, and fair enough, Forest were shocking, I'd be gutted that if the rest of the fans just kind of sat there on their hands and was like, yeah, we're pissed off with the owners. And you're like, yeah, I understand that you're pissed off with the owners, but I've just played my arse off here and absolutely destroyed what's meant to be a decent team. And you're, fair enough. It's kind of one of them things where, but the atmosphere was shocking. I thought that would be my only kind of £2 worth on that. And it's not me being bitter. I would have said it. Well, obviously, it wouldn't have been, if Forest would have beaten 5-0, it would have been even quieter. But it wouldn't have been, because Forest fans might have been noisier. But yeah, it was shocking. But just to run down, if you want them, it will be 2 goals. Raul Jimenez 2 goals, and Tom Kearney with the 5th.
Yes, that last name obviously will be familiar to the Hull contingent, as obviously he was at Hull at the start.
They were talking, because I was drifting in and out of the commentary, because the commentary team were annoying the crap out of me. And there was one point where I caught them saying, oh yeah, and former Hull player, blah, blah, blah. And then they were talking about Harry Wilson, and I completely forgot that we had him on loan, like, 5 years ago. But only it was less than 20 games that he played. But of the 2 players in that side that have played for us, why would you mention Wilson as the former Hull player? Because nobody will remember that stint at all. Whereas everybody up here will know Kearney because of his tough tackling skills.
Tough tackling. What a great moniker for the shy, shall we say, young Mr. Kearney. We won't dwell on it too much longer. From a predictions perspective, as per usual, Mr. Optimistic himself over there in the corner, and Mr. Cook had gone for a 1-0 Forest win with Wood to score the goal, so no points there for Mr. Cook. I'd gone for a 1-0 Fulham win with Willian to score, so no points for the goal scorer, but I do get a correct point for the result. Stuart and Matt had both gone for 2-2 draws. However, they did each predict that Jimenez or Iwobi would score. So get themselves a bonus point for the goal scorer. So we each, apart from Andy, scored 1 point from that game. So for the week, Andy, a very respectable 4 points from 6 games. Matt, 5 points from 4 games. Myself and Mr. Woodmansey, 6 points from 6 games. We each scored 2-0, 2-0, 1 and 1, which I thought had a nice little pattern to it. So sharing the week this week with myself and Mr. Woodmansey. So we move into week 19, and there are 5 games on the docket this week for week 19. The first of which sees us exactly where we finished from last week, as Wolverhampton Wanderers take on Nottingham Forest. Obviously, it's Mr. Moore's team he will go in there last. I'll open us up here. Sadly, I think, given the performance tonight, I think we might be on for more of the same from Forest's perspective. I've gone for a 2-0 Wolves win on this one. I've gone for goals from Hwang and Sarabia. Stu, what have you got for Wolves versus Forest?
Almost the same. I've got Wolves 2, Forest 0. Chan for 1 and Semedo for the other.
Now, that first name, was that the same guy I've got, the Hwang Hee-chan?
Yes.
I'll put it down as Hwang, just so I don't get confused.
If you want more Wangs in your book, then you go for that, Paul.
Well, Andrew?
1-0 to Forest.
Yeah, I let you. There he is. Goal scorer?
Wood.
Standing by Wood.
Strength. I like it. How do you see it panning out, Matt?
I've gone for 2-1 Wolves win. More Wangs for your book.
Good lad.
And Cunha. I've gone for
The response
Elanga
from
for
Forest?
Elanga.
Ilanga.
Yeah.
Well, if they can't get the result, hopefully they just get a better performance than they put in tonight.
Well, that's it.
Our second game of the week sees my boys taking on second in the table Ipswich Town. As stated before, Borough are severely depleted for this game. Whether or not they can cobble together an actual competent defence, watch this space. It's my boys, I will go last. I'll dive straight in for Andy's pick on this one.
2-0 to the Borough.
Massively optimistic. Goal scorers?
Latte Laugh and Silvera.
Matt?
I've gone for a 2-2 draw. Latte Laugh and Crooks. And Burns and Chaplin for Ipswich. Burns' goal for Ipswich this weekend was when someone says, "Oh, it's a worldie goal," that one was a cracker.
Yeah, I need to watch that, because I've not seen it yet.
It's very nice.
Stu?
Unfortunately for you, Paul, I have gone for a 0-1 Ipswich win. And seeing as you had so much Wood and Wangs last time, let's go for Broadhead this time.
Well, I've agreed with one of you, but not for the scoreline. I also have gone for a 1-2. I think injuries, suspensions will bite us in the arse here. Ipswich look good, unfortunately. Look, they're riding the crest of how well they performed last season to come up. So I've gone for a 2-1 Ipswich win. I've gone for Latte Laugh for the Borough. Chaplin and Old Boy rule is in effect, lads. He never played for us, but he was certainly on contract. I've gone for Luongo to score for Ipswich. There's also Sam Morsey who plays for us as well, so there's a couple of old boys that could do us over there. Third game of the week sees Queen's Park Rangers taking on Hull City. It's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He'll obviously go last. I've gone for a 1-2 again on this one, but in Hull's favour. Chair to score for QPR, Delap and Twine for Hull. Matt, what have you gone for this one?
I've also gone for a Hull 2-1 win. For QPR, I've gone for Paul.
What?
Paul. P-A-A-L. Paul.
Oh, Paul!
Come on. And then Philogene and Slater.
Is Slater definitely still there?
Yeah. He's he's back from injury now. He's made substitute appearances and all. So, well, he certainly is there, Paul, because I saw him with my own eyes on Saturday. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Andy?
Just a 1-0 Hull win with Connolly to score.
You're going to flog that particular horse until it comes right for you, aren't you? Go on then, Stu. How's it going to play out?
Not a fucking chance that we will win is I feel that this is well. I'm hoping that we're going through our sticky patch at the moment before coming right at the end of January, or towards the end of the festive fixtures. Put it that way. I don't know. I don't have memories of Loftus Road being a particularly happy hunting ground, but have still optimistically gone for a 1-1 draw. I've also got Chair for QPR, and I've got Delap for Hull. He's been dead unlucky in the last 2 home games not to have at least 3 goals, and he definitely looks like he's got that bit between his teeth the way that he plays, so he's got to score soon.
Okay. Just the 2 games left. It's Andy's team up next. It's Wigan Athletic versus Lincoln City. Now, Lincoln may have even been one of Andy's previous teams earlier in the book, from what I can remember. I'm not seeing them. Ah, yes. They were the boys who inflicted Derby County upon us. So let's hope that Lincoln get what's coming to them, eh? I've gone for a 1-0 Wigan win with Humphreys to score. Stu?
I've got a 1-2 in favour of Lincoln. Yeah. They've not been on the
Lincoln back upon us.
They've not been on the worst run, you know.
Well,
plus it'll make Andy's tattoo become relevant again. So
true. Very true.
So yeah, I've got Lang for Wigan and Makama and Smith. Is it Makama or Makama?
How would you spell it?
Makama.
And who was the second one?
Smith.
Smith.
Didn't even to spell that one too.
When you said Makama, I thought you were going to say MC Hammer.
No, the Scottish version, Makama.
Yeah. Matt?
I've gone for a 2-2 draw. Humphreys and Wake. Wigan and Mandrew and Vale for Lincoln.
Mayo?
What? Vale?
Did you say Mayo for the second one?
Vale.
As in port.
As in port?
Aha, yes.
Go on then, Andy. How are your boys going to get on?
It's a 1-0 win to Wigan, and you don't need me to tell you which goal scorer it is.
Now, Andy doesn't need to do anything. Lads, after 3, do it with me. 1, 2, 3.
Don't.
Of course, he's gone for Stones. And yet again, that'll be another one that he'll ride until it comes in for him. Or he has to change team.
The phrase in there, Paul, was exceptional.
So, it's come to it. It's our first podcast derby of the season. It's only taken us until almost the festive period to get to it. But we see Middlesbrough taking on Hull City. Obviously, Matt and Andy might have to say something to keep both of us on side here. So, let's go to Andy first.
Can anybody guess the score?
0-0.
Stu's got it in 1-1 because there was absolutely no way I was picking a victor here. So it's a 1-1 draw with my two favourite goal scorers from both teams, Latte Laugh and Delap.
Reckon this.
Matt?
I've also gone for a 1-1 draw.
Goal scorers?
Bangura and Delap.
You love picking, like, Middlesbrough defenders to score. You had Vandenberg the other day because he scored against Preston. Did you say Delap?
Strikers don't exactly score a bundle of goals, do they?
No, well, apart from against Leeds. Did you say Delap?
Ah, yeah.
Stu, as you're the away side, I'll give you the option of going first or last.
Oh no, it's your home game, so you go last. I'll take third pick. And as mentioned, firmly believe that this is probably the beginning of our sticky patch. So I'm going to say Middlesbrough 1, Hull 0, with Latte Laugh to score the goal.
Interesting. I have gone for a 2-2 draw. Crooks and Jones to score for the Borough, Morton and Delap to score for Hull, although I have now realised that obviously Connolly probably will play and probably will fucking score.
Have you still got the barn doors fitted?
He'll morph into prime Lionel Messi for this one game. And I just can see it now. If he does score, he's going to be getting this out. And he's going to get absolute dog's abuse if he does. Because, no offence, mate, but you were fucking shit when you played for us. So, don't be giving it all this.
In fairness, he's not.
You goofy-eared twat.
He's not had a look in the last few weeks because he's been making substitute appearances at best.
Because he's shit.
No, because he's not terrible. He just he's not as good as Delap. So
that game, coincidentally, is live on Sky Television. So obviously, myself and Mr. Woodmansey will do our best to bring you the full breakdown of said game when we next record next week. That's
also,
your lot.
Massive thanks to the people for scheduling the fixtures of making it on a Wednesday night in the build-up to Christmas. Thanks for that. It's one of the most local games we have. Still a good 90 minutes plus drive away, but still, Wednesday night, yeah, really? Why is that?
It's alright though, because it's not as if they've put the reverse fixture in Hull on a midweek either. Oh no, they absolutely have. So
why not make that the Boxing Day game or the New Year's game or whatever? But no.
Yeah, arseholes a lot. That's your lot, ladies and gentlemen. Unless you boys have anything else to bring to the table.
Only just before the game last week, I very briefly met the Hull City owner, which was interesting. Hull were the featured team. Well, Hull Watford was the featured game on the EFL, league review thing on ITV. And before the game started, they filmed loads of bits around the stadium and in town. And part of it was that they were filming in the club shop in the St Stephen's shopping centre. And we'd just been for a little look in there on the way to the ground. And as we were about to leave, got kind of held to one side as someone was ushered in past us, and realised it was the owner. There's no reason for being there other than the fact that he was saying hello to people and I guess thanks for buying all my shit. But obviously the cameras were there as well for the TV thing. But we weren't on television. But he was nice enough to stop for a picture with me and the boys, and he was happy to chat to people, and it just seemed like a pretty normal bloke, to be honest. So it was quite quite interesting to sort of have a couple of minutes and see how that was. But you'd have in all my time being a Hull fan, I think there's probably only one other chairman that's been that way inclined, and we haven't had one of them for a good 10 plus years now. So nice to see.
Very nice to hear. Well done, Mr. Ilachali. Is that even close to being correct?
I think it's more Ilachala, I think, is how he pronounces it potentially. But let's just go with Ajun, because his first name is Ajun. So
yeah, we'll go with that. Please don't hurt me if I'm ever in Hull, which does seem like it could be possible. Thank you, gents, for joining me after my self-imposed sabbatical last week. Join us again next week when we'll do it all again. Thank you to you all for listening. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back in about a week's time for you. Well, until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you later on.
So there we go, what do you think to that? Another week of games gone, another week of games to come. Getting towards the back end of the year, so there's going to be that sort of like, loads of games to cover for the back end of the year. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.